What's up guys, Coach Andrew Menechian here. Today I want to talk to you about the best way to gain muscle mass in the triceps and optimize your training. Now, firstly, when we talk about triceps, there are three heads in the triceps. Those are the lateral head, medial head, and the long head. The movement that they execute is extension of the elbow, which is this movement right here. However, for the long head of the triceps, it crosses the shoulder joint, which means it's also responsible for shoulder extension, which means if your elbow is straight and you're pulling down, the triceps is also active. This is why when you do exercises such as a straight arm pull down, you may also feel your triceps. In an interesting study in 2020, they compared two groups, one doing bench press alone and the other doing bench press with a tricep isolation exercise. And what they found was the cross-sectional area and tricep growth was very similar between both groups. Whereas in the long head alone, they found that it wasn't really optimized when they were training bench press alone. So what this means is the lateral head and medial head, when training triceps, if you're doing dips, bench press, or the other pressing movements, will develop the triceps fairly significantly. Whereas for the long head of the triceps, you do need to include having isolation exercises to target them. So my recommendations when training triceps is to not focus on the lateral and medial head. Let them be hit when you're doing your compound movements such as dips. Whereas for the long head, I would say do your isolation movements to target those. In saying that, the long head is still going to be hit on the other exercises as well. It's just not targeted as much. And the same thing vice versa. When we train the long head specific exercises, you're still going to be hitting the lateral and medial head. When training any muscle, ideally we're using a shortened position exercise and a stretch position exercise. Now the same thing applies especially so for the long head of the triceps. My favorite exercises for these are a prone dumbbell tricep extension on a 30-degree incline and then an overhead dumbbell tricep extension on a 60-degree incline. Now, the reason for these two exercises is with the prone dumbbell tricep extension, you can get your arm behind your torso, meaning when you're doing that movement, you're extending behind the body, which gives it a greater contraction. And the reason that we do the overhead dumbbell tricep extension is because we're putting the triceps into a stretch position. Research also shows that the triceps are mainly a fast twitch muscle, which means they respond better to heavy loads. So this is why I would include dips perhaps on the chest day or a push day as the compound movement, which would hit the lateral and medial head sufficiently. And then when you're trying to add on isolation movements and you're trying to target the triceps, I would focus on exercises that target the long head as they don't get hit sufficiently when doing your compound movements. Even when doing all of this, we can still run into issues growing the triceps, and one of the main reasons that I've found is because of mind-muscle connection. You can do the movement, but you're not actually activating or feeling as much triceps as possible. So what I like to do in this situation, or for beginners, to learn how to contract their triceps as optimally as possible, is my favorite superset. I would call them straight arm tricep pull downs. Now the reason that they're different from a lat pull down, a straight arm lat pull down, is because you're pulling it away from the body, which eliminates the lats from the movement. Now you may be wondering, why is there no extension on this movement? As I mentioned before, because the long head is active also in shoulder extension, which is what this movement is. Now I like to use this movement to teach people how to contract the long head of their tricep, and then I would pair it in that same position immediately after, leaning slightly forward with actual extension. The goal would be to have that contraction and now try and keep it throughout a range of motion. I found this to be very effective. This is how I learned how to activate my triceps, and this gave me the most growth. Maybe not from this exercise in particular, but it allowed me to use my triceps more on those bigger tricep movements. So I personally would recommend beginners to stick to this last superset. Once you can activate your triceps sufficiently, I would stick to the other superset. So guys, I hope you've enjoyed this video. There's everything that you need to grow your triceps optimally here. If you like the video, please hit the like button down below, subscribe to the channel, turn on notifications. If you have any questions, let me know in the comments below. If there's any topics that you want me to cover in particular, please let me know. I hope you've enjoyed this guys, and I will see you soon.